What if the person you trusted most in your life, your soulmate, was never really in love with you but only wanted one thing, your inheritance? That question hits me every time I replay the events in my mind. Every single damn moment. It's been months now, but the sting is still fresh. The wound is still raw. How could I have been so blind? So utterly deceived? My name is Lucas Hayes, and I thought I had it all. I live in Miami, Florida, a city that never sleeps, always buzzing with energy. I'm 28, the grandson of one of the wealthiest men in the country, Charles Hayes. People think that having money makes everything easy, but trust me, it doesn't. You see, that's the kind of life I've been living, one where people treat you differently just because of your last name. And for the longest time, I was okay with it. My family has a legacy, and I was proud to carry it forward. But none of that ever mattered until her, Sophia. Stay with me as I share my story. Kindly subscribe and share to your friends to help grow this channel. Sophia. The woman I thought I was going to marry. The woman I thought would stand by my side through everything. My heart aches as I think of her because I can't help but wonder, was any of it real? Every "I love you," every sweet gesture, every promise we made to each other, was it all just a performance? A show for me to fall for, and for her to get exactly what she wanted? I don't know when the cracks started to show. Maybe I was too busy basking in the glow of our relationship, too in love to notice the subtle hints, the things she said in passing that didn't quite add up. I had it all, she had me, and for a while I thought that was enough. She seemed perfect. Intelligent, beautiful, ambitious, everything I could have asked for in a partner. I thought we were building a life together. A life I wanted to share with her forever. But then I learned the truth. And it destroyed me. The woman I had trusted with everything I had, the woman I believed would stand by me forever, was never really in love with me. She didn't care about me. She cared about one thing and one thing only, my inheritance. I've replayed every single moment over and over, asking myself the same question. How did I miss it? How did I not see that she was only in it for the money? That everything was a lie? It's funny, really. I was never a fool. I'm Hayes after all. I'm supposed to be smart. But love makes you do things, makes you blind to the truth you don't want to face. And here I am, sitting in the wreckage of my life, trying to piece together what went wrong. I'm a man who thought he had it all, but now I'm left with nothing but questions. I met Sophia when I was still trying to figure out who I wanted to be. University was supposed to be a time for self-discovery, but then she came into my life like a storm, sudden, unstoppable, and impossible to ignore. I was 21 and she was everything I thought I wanted. Smart, beautiful, confident, and effortlessly charismatic. It was like she stepped out of my dreams and into my reality, and just like that, I was hooked. Sophia and I clicked right away. We spent every moment we could together, exploring the campus, attending parties, and sharing long conversations under the stars. She had a way of making everything feel special, like every second with her mattered. I thought we were building something real. Something unbreakable. She made me feel alive in ways I never thought possible. And I thought I was giving her everything. I was proud of who I was, proud of what I had accomplished. But it wasn't until later that I realized she wasn't just interested in the man I was. She was interested in what I could give her. I was the grandson of Charles Hayes, a man who was known for being reclusive and keeping his wealth a well-guarded secret. My grandfather had always been a mystery even to those closest to him. Only a few people knew the truth about his fortune, and I was one of them. That secret inheritance was like a shadow hanging over my life, something I never thought I would have to worry about. It was mine, but I didn't let it define me. And neither did Sophia. Or at least that's what I thought. To everyone else, we were the perfect couple. The kind of relationship people envied. We were inseparable, and to me she was everything I'd ever wanted. I believed wholeheartedly that she loved me for who I was, not for what I could offer. But I couldn't have been more wrong. What hurts the most, looking back, is how confident I was in our love. We never fought. We never had any real issues. She was always there, always supportive, always making me feel like the most important person in the world. But as time passed, something shifted, something I didn't want to see. Tiny cracks appeared in the perfection we had built together, but I brushed them off, thinking they were just small, insignificant things. Sophia never talked about her past, At least not in any real way. Whenever I asked about her family, she would quickly change the subject, redirecting the conversation back to me, back to us. It wasn't anything overtly suspicious, but looking back, I see it now. I should have seen it then. She also became oddly fixated on my grandfather's estate, asking me questions about it more frequently than I was comfortable with. She'd ask about his health, his finances, and whether he had mentioned anything about his will. At the time, I didn't think much of it. She was just concerned, I thought. After all, we were planning our future together, right? But in hindsight, I know now that her interest wasn't out of love. It was out of a desire. A desire for something I didn't even fully understand. She wasn't just after me, she was after what was mine. And so, as the relationship progressed, I became more and more blind to the subtle signs. I was so sure of her love, so wrapped up in the fantasy we had created together, that I missed the pieces of the puzzle that didn't quite fit. The foundation I had built with her, the trust one had placed in her, was about to be shattered in the most painful way imaginable. It was late in the spring when everything began to change. My grandfather, Charles Hayes, the man who had built an empire from the ground up, was slipping away. His health had been failing for months, but it wasn't until the doctors gave him just weeks to live that I really understood the weight of what was happening. The rumors had been circulating for years. Charles never made his fortune public, and he kept his will locked up tighter than Fort Knox. Everyone knew that whoever could prove their loyalty to the family would inherit the lion's share of his wealth. The old man didn't trust easily, and the inheritance was something that had always loomed over my life like a shadow. Sophia had been oddly quiet about it all at first. But as the days passed, I noticed her getting more and more anxious, her eyes flickering with a nervous energy I hadn't seen before. Then one evening, as we sat together on the balcony, watching the sunset over Miami, she said something that made my stomach twist in a way I couldn't explain. "Lucas," she began, her voice unusually soft, "I think it's time you press your grandfather for the will. I mean, you deserve to know what's coming next for both of you, right? After all, this could be your future." She leaned in, her lips brushing against my ear as she spoke, and I felt a shiver down my spine, not from affection but from something else. Something was off. Her words sounded rehearsed, almost too casual for the seriousness of the situation. At the time, I brushed it off as her being concerned for me. She had always been thoughtful, always trying to look out for my well-being. But now, looking back, I see it. The way she subtly pushed me to confront my grandfather, the way she made it feel like it was something that needed to happen sooner rather than later. As if it wasn't just about Charles anymore, it was about what we could gain from it. Soon, Sophia's obsession with the inheritance reached a level that made me uneasy. We started talking about our future more than ever, but it wasn't the kind of future I had envisioned. She would suggest where we should live once we had the money, an upscale penthouse in New York, a lavish estate in the Hamptons. She made plans for what investments we should make, as if she were already spending the fortune in her mind. I remember one conversation in particular, where she even started picking out potential charities she'd like to donate to once we had the wealth. But it all felt hollow. Like she was just trying to build a picture of a life that wasn't real yet, maybe one that she didn't want to wait for. I started to pull away, confused and suspicious, but I didn't know what to do. The love I had for her was strong, and I didn't want to doubt her intentions. But there was a gnawing feeling deep inside me that I couldn't ignore. Something wasn't right. Then one evening, everything came crashing down. I had been working late at the office, trying to finish up some projects before the inevitable fallout with my grandfather. When I got home that night, the house was quiet, the kind of quiet that felt unsettling. I figured Sophia was in the kitchen or out on the balcony, but when I entered the living room, I froze. Sophia was sitting on the couch talking to someone. No, arguing with someone. The voice on the other end was low, intense, and filled with a sharp aggression I had never heard before. The conversation seemed innocent at first, but as I listened, I felt my blood run cold. "Did you really think I would sit around waiting for this to play out?" the man's voice said. "You need to finalize things with him. Get him to move faster on the will and make sure it's in your name. You're running out of time, Sophia." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I took a few steps closer, trying to stay hidden, but every word sliced through me like a knife. The man was pushing her, demanding that she make sure everything went according to their plan. That I, Lucas, was nothing more than a means to an end. Sophia's voice was shaky, but there was no hiding the desperation in it. "I'm doing my best," she replied. "But I can't rush it. I need more time. I need him to trust me more. He'll come around, I know he will." "Trust me?" The words echoed in my head as I stood frozen in place. She wasn't in love with me. She wasn't invested in us. She had been using me all along. When the conversation ended, I didn't wait. I stormed into the room, my heart pounding, and demanded an explanation. The look on Sophia's face when she saw me was one of sheer panic. She stammered, tried to smile, but I wasn't buying it anymore. "Lucas, she began, but I didn't want to hear it. I needed the truth, not more lies. "You're not in love with me," I said, my voice trembling with disbelief. "You never were. This whole time, you've been using me for my grandfather's fortune, haven't you?" Her eyes widened and she looked guilty, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she sighed deeply and reached out to touch my arm. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice almost pleading. "I didn't want it to be this way. I never meant for you to find out like this." "But Lucas..." "You what?" I interrupted, unable to even breathe properly from the weight of the betrayal crushing my chest. "You thought I wouldn't see it? That I wouldn't notice? Everything we've built, everything I believed in was a lie." She tried to reach for me, but I took a step back. "Please, Lucas, let me explain. You don't understand. I needed this. I thought if I just waited long enough, if I could just make you love me more, I'd have a chance." Her words hung in the air, but there was no going back. The person I thought I knew, the woman I thought I loved, was nothing more than a stranger with a hidden agenda. I could see the desperation in her eyes now, not for my love, but for the money I had, the money she wanted. I felt sick. And then came the hardest part. I had to decide whether I would confront this reality, or keep pretending everything was fine. But the truth was undeniable now. I couldn't keep lying to myself. I had to let go. The night I confronted Sophia should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Something in her eyes wouldn't let me rest. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't remorse. It was fear of losing something she desperately wanted. And that made me wonder, what else was she hiding? So I did what any heartbroken fool trying to make sense of his pain would do. I started digging. At first, it was simple things. Old photos she kept hidden, numbers saved in her phone under fake names, small inconsistencies in her stories. But the deeper I looked, the darker it got. The loving family she always mentioned? They didn't exist, not in the way she claimed. She had been estranged from them for years. Hard childhood. Trouble with the law. Desperation. And then came the relationships. One after another, all with wealthy men. Investors. Business owners. Every one of them left behind with a broken heart, ruined trust, or an empty bank account. She wasn't just someone with secrets. She was someone who crafted lies for survival. She used her face, her charm, her warmth like weapons, slipping into men's lives, taking what she needed, and disappearing before they caught on. I felt sick reading the messages, the warnings, the reports. Every new detail was like a fresh wound tearing through me. The woman I had loved so deeply wasn't the woman I thought I knew at all. I was ready to confront her again, ready to throw the truth at her feet and walk away forever. But before I could do that, I got a call. It was from my grandfather's estate. "Lucas, your presence is required for the reading of the will." Just like that, everything shifted. My heart pounded. My hands shook. The timing felt too perfect, too suspicious. Sophia had been pushing me about the will for weeks. If there was ever a moment where her intentions could be revealed, it was now. When I arrived at the estate, the atmosphere felt heavy, like the house itself knew something was about to break. The lawyer greeted me, somber and distant, and guided me into my grandfather's old study. I sat in his favorite chair, staring at the empty fireplace, feeling a strange mix of grief, anger, and fear. Then the will was read, and everything I thought I knew shattered. My grandfather, Charles Hayes, hadn't crafted a will based on wealth. He hadn't measured our worth in money or business achievements. The inheritance, his entire empire, was designed to go to one person only, The one who loved without entitlement, without greed, without personal gain. His words were clear. Almost painfully clear. Only the heir who proves their love is genuine, untainted by wealth, will inherit my estate. Money can be earned, rebuilt, or lost. But loyalty? That is something no amount of fortune can buy. My chest tightened so hard I struggled to breathe. My grandfather had been testing me. Testing everyone. And Sophia. Sophia had failed before she even began. At that moment everything clicked. Her pressure. Her obsession. Her questions. Her plans. Her lies. She had never loved me. Not once. Not even a little. I wasn't Lucas, the man she cared for. I was Lucas, the gateway to an empire. The slap of that truth hit me harder than anything she had ever done. I felt the room tilt for a moment. My hands trembled. My throat burned. I wasn't enough for her. Not as a man, not as a partner, not as a human being. I was only enough as a means to an end. And then the final blade cut through everything. When I continued digging through her past, piecing together her connections, her fake friendships, her old messages, I uncovered the worst of it. The man she had spoken to that night wasn't just some acquaintance. He was a lawyer she hired months before she ever mentioned my grandfather's will to me. Their plan had been in motion long before she ever told me she loved me. She had been plotting to manipulate the estate, to twist the legal system, to set herself up as the rightful partner who deserved a portion of the fortune once Charles died. I wasn't part of her story. It was her strategy, her escape plan, her ticket into the Hayes legacy. Knowing all that, it broke something inside me. Something that I don't think will ever heal the same way again. Because love didn't fail me. I failed at love. I trusted the wrong person. I handed my heart to someone who only saw it as leverage. And for the first time in my life, I understood the real meaning of betrayal. Not just being lied to, but being used. Her lies weren't just lies. They were my whole life, rewritten behind my back. I couldn't wait any longer. The storm inside me was building, and it was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. Sophia had lied to me, manipulated me, and used my love for her as a stepping stone to her own goals. I had all the evidence I needed. Her web of lies was laid bare, and it was time for the truth to be revealed. I found her in the living room, pacing back and forth, nervously glancing at the clock. When she saw me, her expression faltered for just a second, but she quickly recovered. She was always good at hiding her true emotions behind that perfect smile of hers. "Sophia," I said, my voice steady but laced with anger. "We need to talk. And this time, there's no running away from the truth." She froze, her hand hovering over the coffee table as if she was searching for an escape. But there was no escape. I had already uncovered everything. The real Sophia. The woman who had spun a perfect web of lies. The woman who had used her beauty, her charm, and my trust to secure a future that was never truly mine to give. "I know everything," I continued, my heart pounding in my chest. "I know about the man you were speaking to. I know about your past, how you've used your relationships to climb your way into wealthy men's lives, leaving a trail of broken hearts and ruined reputations. You're nothing but a gold digger, Sophia. And I was the biggest fool to believe I was special to you." Her face went pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out at first. The mask she had worn for so long was finally slipping, and I saw the raw fear in her eyes. Fear of being exposed. Fear of losing everything she had worked so hard to manipulate me into giving her. "I never wanted it to be this way," she said softly, her voice cracking. "I loved you, Lucas. I thought I could make it work. I never meant for things to go this far." "Love?" I scoffed, stepping closer to her. "You never loved me. You loved my inheritance. That's all you ever cared about." The words hit her like a physical blow, and for a moment she seemed to shrink under the weight of the truth. But then she straightened up, looking at me with a new fire in her eyes. "You don't understand," she pleaded. "I did what I had to do. I didn't have any other options. You think your life is so easy, but it's not. I needed this, Lucas. I needed you. This was my future. What was I supposed to do? Just wait around for something to fall into my lap?" I wanted to scream at her, to tell her how disgusted I was, but I couldn't. Instead, I just stood there trying to process everything. She had been playing me from the start, and I had been so blind that I couldn't see it. But then, just when I thought I had everything under control, she dropped a bombshell. "I'm pregnant, Lucas," she whispered, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm pregnant with your child." The words hung in the air, and I felt my breath catch in my throat. For a moment, everything went quiet. I stared at her, unable to process what she had just said. This was the final card she was playing, the last move in her game of manipulation. She wasn't just trying to get the inheritance, she was trying to secure her place in my life forever. "You're pregnant," I repeated, the shock reverberating through me. "Is that what this was about all along? You thought I'd marry you and take care of you because of some kid that may or may not be mine?" Sophia's eyes were pleading, but I felt nothing but emptiness. I had been so sure of her love, so sure that we had a future together. Now it was all unraveling before me and I couldn't go back. "Lucas, please," she whispered. "I did what I had to do. I thought you'd understand." I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me, but there was something else too, a sadness, a sense of loss. The woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, had used me in ways I couldn't even comprehend. But I wasn't going to let her win. Not this time. "You've already lost, Sophia," I said, my voice cold. "I'm done. And this time, I'm making sure the world knows who you really are." Before she could say another word, I walked out of the room and went straight to my computer. I couldn't let her manipulate me any further. The truth had to come out. I anonymously leaked everything, her history of deceit, her manipulation, the way she'd used men like pawns in her game. I made sure every detail was out in the open, making sure her career, her reputation, and her plans for my inheritance were ruined. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about the money. It was about justice. It was about making sure that the woman who had tried to tear my life apart would never be able to do it to anyone else. I didn't care about the baby. I didn't care about her apologies. I had learned a valuable lesson. I would never let anyone, no matter how beautiful, no matter how charming, destroy me again. Sophia had played her cards, but now the game was over. I could have taken it all, the inheritance, the money, the power. It was mine after all. But what was it worth if it was built on lies? What was the point of wealth if I had to compromise everything I believed in to get it? My grandfather always said that true wealth was found in love, loyalty, and integrity. So, I made a decision that surprised even me. I walked away from the inheritance. Instead of keeping what I was rightfully owed, I donated the entire sum to various charities, the kind of causes my grandfather would have supported. It wasn't about redemption or some noble gesture. It was about doing the right thing, about making sure that the fortune I could have claimed would go to something that actually mattered. As for Sophia, well, she got exactly what she deserved. Exposed for the manipulative liar she was, she now has nothing. The man she betrayed, the future she had schemed for, all slipped through her fingers. Without the inheritance, without me, she was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. And in the silence of her downfall, I could almost hear her realizing the painful truth, that love, when it's faked, can never bring happiness. It's hollow, empty, and ultimately, it destroys everything it touches. As for me, I walked away from it all, wiser, stronger. I learned that love can't be bought or manipulated, and that sometimes, the hardest thing to do is to let go of the things that once meant everything. But there's freedom in that. There's clarity. And as I look back, I can't help but wonder, do we ever truly know the people we love? And when trust is broken, when it's shattered, can it ever be fully restored? Or are we left forever changed, forever questioning who we let into our hearts? As I stand there, watching the sun dip below the horizon, the weight of everything I've just been through settles heavily on my shoulders. The world feels different now, darker maybe, but clearer in some ways. I've learned things I never wanted to know, truths I couldn't unsee. Could you ever love again after such a betrayal? Could you trust someone with your heart when it's been shattered, when the person you believed in the most used your love as a means to an end? Could you look past the scars and let yourself be vulnerable again? Or would you forever wonder if the love you thought was real was just another lie? I don't have the answers. Maybe I never will. But as I stand here looking ahead at a future that's uncertain, I realize something. Maybe that's okay. Maybe we aren't meant to have all the answers right away. Sometimes, it's the journey of rebuilding that teaches us the most.